Power is a great gift. It must
There are plenty of things I don't like. Traffic, bad drivers, green eggs and ham, and of course, Nintendo's business practices. That last one I've moaned and groaned on for years, because I love their games, but the way the company is run is the most unfriendly corporation in the gaming space. I don't think they're the greediest, nor do I think they're like the most degenerate or anything. That still firmly belongs to Ubisoft. They wear that crown proudly. I don't know what happens over there at Ubisoft. I guess their workday consists of going in and puffing paint thinner and then eating glue, but it is crazy how out of touch that company is, and everything you could possibly do wrong as a business they do with a smile on their face. Nintendo is nowhere near that level, but I think Nintendo is just so anti-consumer and very aggressive to the people that love their games. They make incredible games, but they make it abundantly clear they really don't like you to enjoy their products in ways that they don't intend for it to be used. And they are not afraid to bring that fucking hammer down. They throw their meat on the table and say, suck or else. They have many times over the years shut down community events for a variety of reasons. And recently they put their keepers on a speedrunning charity event called RTA, where they gave them a warning that unauthorized use of the Nintendo games would no longer be permissible by this event. They need Nintendo's permission for them. But they gave them that warning way too late, thus they couldn't get that permission in time. Now, this is an event that's been run for almost a decade now without hiccups. They've run Nintendo games for all these years, and now all of a sudden, Nintendo puts up a big stink about it, saying, whoa, 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 scoundrels, you can't do that, you fucking hooligans, you need our permission for each game here. I guess they just had the itch, they were scratching at their neck looking for something else to shut down for people that love their games, so they went out of their way to target this charity event. And while they're not shutting it down per se, they did just put a big damper on it by forcing the event to have to omit Nintendo games because they didn't get enough time to get Nintendo's permission after receiving their notice. This event's been run for the past 9 years, and then suddenly this time around they received a warning from Nintendo about using games without permission. They do still have hopes that they'll be able to bring Nintendo titles back into this event in the future, but this came so suddenly, way too quickly, that there's no way they can get permission in time for it. Thus, they've had to pull the titles from this upcoming RTA, which starts today. RTA in Japan made the announcement on their website explaining the absence of the titles. Apparently, Nintendo pointed out to the non-profit on June 13th that organizations require prior permission to use Nintendo games, adding that RTA in Japan's previous use of Nintendo titles was unauthorized, as permission was not obtained in advance. Oh no! That's a big-time crime right there. Unauthorized playing of a Nintendo game. Oh boy. That's some big potatoes right there. Anyway, immediately upon receiving the notification, RTA in Japan began negotiations in the hopes that they could use the titles again for future events, but as of right now, it hasn't really gone anywhere. It's been decided that RTA in Japan will apply for permission on a per-event, per-game basis, basically having to ask Nintendo every single time one of their contestants wants to play through a game, even if it has been featured in previous RTA in Japan event. In their announcement, RTA in Japan revealed that they were unable to establish clear guidelines on this process in time for 2025, hence the omission. They also apologized to everyone who applied to speedrun Nintendo games for the event. This article then goes on to explain the reaction to this. So at first glance, this seems like overprotective Nintendo picking on a small charity event. However, the majority of Japanese-speaking users commenting on the matter took a balanced view of the situation, or even sided with Nintendo, with many saying they understood why Nintendo had taken this action now. RTA in Japan started off as a small volunteer-run effort. However, over the past few years, it has grown into a large public event with major sponsors and the organizers now registered as a general incorporation association with all the bureaucracy and responsibility that brings. The event's growing prominence is likely what made Nintendo sit up and take notice. Some commenters even said RTA in Japan should have been more responsible and proactively taken measures to ensure that they had Nintendo's permission to avoid disruption to speedrun events. Oh god. I hate this corporate dick-sucking. This should be a positive thing. That this small volunteer-run effort has grown into something that generates real, meaningful change and help to charitable organizations. This should be a celebration, not like a, well, you got too big, you should have known, you should have been sucked on Nintendo's titties over there. You should have begged to be able to play those games there. You should have known. You're not allowed to just play games on the big screen and try and raise money for charity. That's illegal. And you know what? If Nintendo wants you to ask permission, fine. Why couldn't they have told you that months in advance so that way they could actually go through this process and have them present at the RTA in Japan as they have been for so many years previously? Clearly, June 13th wasn't enough time here. This is apparently a pretty long process. Why did they wait so long? Why not give them this notice at the start of the year or something? Why did they wait until there was no time left to possibly get the negotiations settled and get permission to have them played? Why did they wait so long? Why didn't they make that clear explicitly earlier? If this has become so big and it is already so known that Nintendo games are integral and have been woven deeply into the event, why wouldn't that have been made more clear to the organizers way before it was like at the deadline? It doesn't make sense. It's just so unnecessary to begin with, by the way. I don't think there's any justification or excuse for it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. They are playing your games because they love them and they want to use them as a way of generating positive change in the world. I will never be able to wrap my noodle around the Nintendo perception of every player being an enemy. They treat everyone that touches their game as a threat to their company somehow. Unless you are playing the game privately in your own home and time, you are viewed as like an actual adversary to them. If you play this game in like a public manner in any way, they will put you under the microscope. It doesn't make sense to me. This is a fucking charity event. Again, if Nintendo wants them to ask permission, fine, but maybe just have that be more of like a collaborative effort at that point. Like, hey, we'd really love if you asked us permission so that way we could be like a big part of this. We love what you're doing with this charity speedrunning event. We love that you love our games. Let us be a part of it. Just talk to us first. As opposed to be like, you need our permission for each individual game, and if not, you cannot have us there. We will come after you. Like, that is such a different tone. If they want this to be more collaborative with permission, fine. But give them that warning sooner, and then also, maybe, like, for this one, they could have been like, hey, I know we didn't tell you this in time. You can still play our games this time around. You'll get, like, our expedited permission for this, but just know, for the following event next year, we would like to go through like a deeper negotiation and work more together in order to ensure everything is fully authorized. Like, you didn't need to come in here with the fucking sledgehammer. It's a charity event. It should be something to be celebrated. And overall, it's just so pathetic from Nintendo here. Again, it's your games, sure, you can legally do this, but why do you want to be the biggest douchebag on the planet? They're just a bully. They are now bullying a non-profit charity speedrunning event. Unauthorized use of their games. They're just playing them. They are just playing your games while trying to raise money for a really good cause. What kind of company has an issue with that? They're not stepping on your toes or anything. They just love your games and want to play them, speedrun them, and raise money for a good cause. How does that not fit in line with the Nintendo MO of bringing positivity through this art? It's just crazy to me. And unsurprisingly, I've seen a lot of Nintendo's defending this, as there always will be. There are people that will fight tooth and nail for the honor of Nintendo as they continuously get spit upon by the company, but they love that spit in their mouth. They live for that shit. They do all their PR for free. And there are people saying that it's not that big of a deal. This is a legal thing, and they gotta ask permission if they want Nintendo games. They're not shutting them down. They're just saying you need our permission to play those games. And I know I'm about to repeat myself, but it is just a point that needs to be made like strongly. There's like no real way to wiggle out of this checkmate here. If it isn't that big of a deal of like asking permission from Nintendo to play these games, why did they wait until there was no time left for RTA in Japan to get that permission? Why wouldn't they have given them this warning, this notice, much sooner, so that way they could go through this entire process, go through this whole song and dance that Nintendo requires them to do? It does seem like there's a lot of moving parts to it. Why wouldn't they tell them this and get this going many months ago? This event has become big enough that clearly Nintendo is aware. They could have easily reached out to them and let them know much earlier this year. So that way they would have had time and they would have gotten the permission to be here. Instead, they waited until there was absolutely no time on the clock. They couldn't get the buzzer beater negotiations over the finish line. Thus, they just had to remove the Nintendo games or else face potential punishment. Like, I don't understand how anyone could look at this and think Nintendo's in the right here. Like, if they want you to have to ask permission, fine. But make that clear way in advance so that way they can do that. I don't think there's a strong defense for it. Now, I've made it clear I have no plans of buying Nintendo property again until this company has a drastic overhaul. I know, what a brave hero. But I keep getting asked, like, what do I think of DK Bonanza and all that? I think the game looks great. I have no plans of getting it. I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2. I have no plans of buying a Nintendo Switch 2. Even though I'm the biggest FromSoft fanboy there is, I am like so fucking deep like in the hypnotism that I must consume all FromSoft. Their upcoming Switch 2 exclusive game, Duskbloods, still not going to be getting it if Nintendo as a company doesn't change, or at least show that they're willing to work more with the community and go in a better direction. It's shit like this is exactly why. I can't stand it. It's so incredibly unnecessary. It's a speedrunning charity event. I find it so weird how successful companies have been at brainwashing people to side with them always. It's become very common for people to side with a corporation over an individual now. Now, granted, in this case, the speedrunning event, the charity event, is a company too, but it is a non-profit organization that solely is doing this to generate money for a charitable good cause, using products that they own to make a positive impact. And somehow people are still going against them, blaming them, saying that they were in the wrong, just because Nintendo said so. Because Nintendo reached out at the last minute saying, no, you can't play our games because you didn't get our permission, you need to get our permission, let's start. When there was no time to start and finish that negotiation, thus they had to get rid of those games, which are a big part of the event, apparently. I just don't know how people can be at this point where all of a sudden they look at that and be like, yeah, Nintendo was super right. It's just super weird to me. Anyway, just wanted to yap about this a bit. That's it. Yeah.
Help get that vehicle to its destination.
That's what people sound like when they do their best to defend Nintendo from my mean words. They deserve it. Nintendo is greedy, and I'm tired of it. So I keep making fun of them. And there are so many people that defend Nintendo, even in spite of them reaching into their piggy bank and shaking it for everything that can fall out. Heavens to Betsy, Nintendo even has the gall to charge money for their tech demo welcome tour for the Nintendo Switch. This is a game with the Switch 2 that's supposed to teach you how to use the console. It is a tour of it, and they didn't even have the common courtesy to let it be free like other games of that kind, like Astrobot back on the PS4. It doesn't get more pathetic than that. How do you even defend that? How do you even begin to rationalize why they would charge money for their tutorial of the Switch 2? It's craziness. That is an actual Mr. Krabs maneuver. Like that episode where he was charging customers for air inside of the restaurant. Like, Nintendo is so beyond greedy, and I believe it is just truly indefensible no matter how hard people jump through mental gymnastics to, you know, wave it away is not a big deal, and like, they're totally right for increasing the price of their games and all of this and that. I don't know. I don't understand the desperation to suck the Nintendo wiener this hard and defend them like this, fight their PR battles for free. It is very valid criticism to make fun of them for their pricing, because it's just ludicrous. And keep in mind, Nintendo never drops the price of their games, ever. Games that are like 10 years old are still being sold for full fucking price by Nintendo. So these games that are coming out that are going to be $80 occasionally for the Switch 2, they're going to remain $80 till the day you die. And occasionally they do like a deal where they drop the price temporarily on some of their titles, but that comes once in a blue moon. You are more likely to see Halley's Comet again than you are to see a Nintendo price drop on one of their properties for any meaningful length of time. And they charge out the wazoo for every single fucking thing that they can possibly even imagine. Like game chat in their game is a paid service, which means since it's a paid service, your C buttons are going to be locked behind a paywall. If you don't pay for it, those buttons on your controller aren't even going to work. It's ridiculous. Their game chat is also just reskin Discord, but with technology that's ancient compared to modern Discord. So I'm just going to show you clips from today's Yap session on Nintendo where we're going over Doug Bowser's most recent interview, and they showed more from game chat. It looks so laggy and so old. It is insulting they would even consider charging for it. And in this interview, Doug Bowser gives no good reasons why they increased the price of the game. The reason he gives, I think, is trash. Did you watch the Bowser interview over the $80 games? I didn't watch the interview, I just saw the statement. I'll watch the interview real quick. I'm assuming it's not a long interview. It's 17 minutes. Wait, this man actually like opened up his whole heart here. I thought it was just gonna be another classic Doug Bowser where they bring him out of cryo sleep for like a 3-minute appearance and then he goes right back into battery saving mode. Like, this guy is only ever seen like maybe 2 or 3 times a year. That's it. Outside of that, he ceases to exist. He just goes to the back rooms.
I guess the question now is, with the Switch 2, how do you avoid that trap again? What makes the Switch 2 a worthwhile upgrade so you don't kind of fall into that Wii U moment again?
Yeah, I think...
Oh, he just said the forbidden word. He mentioned Wii U. CNBC bringing up Wii U directly to Nintendo? Oh, wow.
The right heroes could
Oh,
make all
wow.
the difference.
Doug Bowser's even surprised. Like, what do you think? Nah, these are clearly pre-screened questions, but I'm surprised they're willing to even mention what kind of failure Wii U was. I was one of the victims of that. I got scammed by it.
It's happening behind us right now. It really
I did buy a Wii U, yeah.
Bringing that next generation, but then added very powerful
What did you
gameplay
see in it?
features
In the
and
Wii U?
social features. So it's that understanding.
Okay, jeez, I can't just always have to defend myself about the Wii U. The reason I bought it is because I missed out on the Wii. I never owned a Wii. I only ever played it at friends' houses, and I felt so weird about that. So when the Wii U rolled around, I was like, not this time. I'm gonna get it. So I got it. Turns out I was weird now because I was the only one with a Wii U. But without the Wii U, I would have never created Big Moist, because the name Big Moist came from the Wii U. I bought it, I then brought it to my dorm, and we used it as a communal Wii U for Mario Kart. And I made the name Big Moist on it. So, while the console was a scam, 100% that shit was ass. There's some good memories from it.
And then there's the CPU and GPU processing power that allows for much deeper game development, and I think a lot of ability to bring even more developers onto the platform. And then right on top of that is the social features that you have to talk about.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
It lays on top of any game you play. With the push of one button, seamlessly you can connect with your friends, or you can chat with them via audio.
Doug, you've made Discord. Doug, don't you dare try and use that as some kind of justification for crazy price increases. Well, you see, we invented this thing called chat. Now listen, bear with me. I know it sounds like a ludicrous idea, but what if when you played games, you could talk to your friends while doing it? Hey, people criticized Isaac Newton with gravity. Trust me here. Just stick with me. Stick with me.
You're welcome.
It's ridiculous. Like, I'm glad it's finally coming. Like, it's cool, I guess, but the way they hype this up is ridiculous. You have literally just copied Discord's homework
I'll patch you up.
5 or 6 years ago. Oh yeah, and you have to pay for it. That's right, and you have to pay for it. Forgot about that. It's not even like a free thing.
Audio, or with 4 of them, you can have them on a video camera and have this opportunity to interact and talk about the games you're playing.
There's still a chance to
No, it's
stop
in
them.
here.
I also love in their own demonstration how choppy this looks. You are just better off using Discord with your friends. It's free. It's better quality. You are just better off if you're playing Switch with your boys. Hop on Discord. You are so much better.
Now might
No,
be a
it's
good
in
time
here
to
on
stop
April
them.
2nd. It just so happens as we're...
Not even Discord, actual 2010 Connect technology. I won't go that far, but it is dated.
We didn't consider tariffs into that equation. We felt that that was going to be the right price point for our consumers and the right value proposition, if you will, for the device that we're creating. A lot of news today. We're still all trying to really understand it better and understand what possible impacts may rise from that, but nothing I could really add to today's discussion around pricing.
I will say, while the initial price point pre-tariff analysis here is higher than most people expected, myself included, I could almost understand that. Like, I could almost feel like, you know what? It is an upgrade. It is finally modern. Okay, that I can stomach. I'm very curious, and I already know from the headlines where he goes with this, how they could possibly justify not only the increased price of the hardware, but the individual game price increase as well.
Add-on. But if you buy the game itself, this got a lot of attention.
Ugh.
That's a lot
Relay
for a game. I
deployed.
know
It
it's
ain't
typically
cheap.
not what Nintendo charges. And then we look at the Donkey Kong game that's coming out
You're
a
welcome.
month later. It's $70. We talked a little bit about how the gaming pricing strategy is $80, kind of the benchmark for a AAA game for Nintendo. What should we be
The
expecting?
camera's $50. Hell no. What do you mean? You don't want this tech from the late
I'm ready to
2010s?
put on a show.
Well, how are you going to talk to your friends on Nintendo Switch 2 Discord without the Nintendo Switch 2 camera button? Alright, tough guy. What do you know about high-quality 480p cameras?
So we believe, based on the depth and breadth of the play and the repeatability of the play over time,
Chance
the
to
pricing
stop them.
that we announced is the right pricing. But again, other games like
Love that.
Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be at a $70 price point because that is what we feel is the right price point for that particular experience.
Well, Donkey Kong Bonanza, that's a worse game. So we're charging less money for it. That game, it's nothing compared to Mario Kart World. That game actually like really sucks. So we're giving you a great deal there. Mario Kart World though, think of all the hours of gameplay you get. So many hours. So we had to increase the price. We did so much work, we needed to increase the price. And when the next Zelda game comes out, I'm gonna be honest with you, we might go up to $120 on it. We put a lot of tender love and care into it. It's an incredible game, and we think that's a good price for it. It's so fucking stupid. Basically, they're saying, these are great games, you're going to get a lot out of the games, so we're charging you more for the games because we know you're going to buy it because you already like the properties. I had already read the headline, I knew that's what he said about it, more or less. I just think that's a really dog shit argument because it doesn't apply. Schedule 1. I've gotten so many hours out of Schedule 1, more so than most Nintendo games in recent memory, paid a fraction of the price for Schedule 1. Does that mean Tyler should start charging $80 for Schedule 1 to match Mario Kart World? Fuck no. He'd get eaten alive, even though it offers the same amount of fun, the same amount of hours. It's dumb. It's a stupid game.
This is real.
Like, yes, they'll get away with it because they're Nintendo. I don't think this holds any water. The main reason is they know they can charge this price. People will buy it. There's not going to be any kind of like boycott. Nintendo Switch 2 will still sell. All the games will still sell. So they can do it. So why not squeeze some more money out of consumers? That's the core. That is at its core why they're doing it. I think they're pricing it based on whether or not it'll be continuously updated. But that's the thing. Every game is continuously updated in the modern day and age. I can't think of a game that just comes out and never gets touched again. Even games that flop still get some updates over their lifespan, even if it is a short lifespan. And you can't base a game on that. I still think that's a stupid reason to. Like fucking Babylon's Fall. That only ever opened to like 12 players and me and Denkin got updates. Concord got updates. Like every game that comes out gets updates. Do you think it would be a fair price if they announced every DLC and add-on will be free? If they did that, yes. That would make a lot more sense. They would never do that. But in your like fairy tale Candyland hypothetical, if they said we're increasing the base price of these games and you will get our feature updates later down the line, like our DLC packages, you will get that included. Yeah, that makes sense. Then I'd be like, okay, I see what you're trying to get at. You're basically selling the game plus the full lifespan season pass. Okay. That would make sense.
I'll patch you up.
You'd basically be selling like the Game of the Year version. They're never doing that, but if they did, I wouldn't be upset. Oh, I see what you're saying, Archive. Like, Mario Kart is a multiplayer game, so it'll get more stuff. Donkey Kong is a single-player experience, hence why it's cheaper. Not saying it's right, just figuring out their logic. I see what you're saying.
Relay deployed.
Okay.
It ain't
Maybe that's how they base their pricing then.
This is
Look at how many
real
hours I play
firepower.
before I determine if I'm worthy of buying a Switch 2. People to be able to go out and buy
That is cute.
Solution there with the number of hours played was really to reward our most loyal players and give them a chance to queue up first and have an opportunity to purchase the product. Tomorrow we're going to be meeting with our retail partners, and our retail partners will have their own pre-order programs. So our
And I promise you it won't be that. Yeah, they did announce this. I did know about it. In order to pre-order the Switch, at least through them, you have to verify that you're a Nintendo fan. Like, you have to verify that you engage with the Nintendo product. You have a certain amount of hours. It's basically a fucking background check, like you're buying a gun. like they do like a check to make sure that you are qualified for a pre-order. It's so good. I actually don't even hate that because anything that takes a stab at scalpers, I'll at least give it a try. I'll at least say, cool, why not give it a whirl? So I don't dislike that. Obviously, the other retailers outside of Nintendo will not be doing that. No chance. There are still going to be scalpers. It's not going to beat scalpers, but anything that at least takes a shot at it, go for it.
First of all, with game chat, when you choose game chat, you're only choosing the rest of your friends. So you're not
God, that... See, if this was my product, the last thing I would want people to see is this. That looks like right out of Skype from back in the day. Oof.
wide open stages. That's right. It did.
Oh.
Quantum magic.
Those people that you've invited into your
You see the quote where Doug pulled a Don Matrick? Who's Don Matrick? What quote? Are you talking about the one where he said if you can't afford the Switch 2, get the Switch 1, or that's why the Switch 1 is here? I found this guy during the Xbox One reveal. Oh, did they say that for the Xbox One? If you can't afford the Xbox One, get the 360? History was not kind to that console. That thing was a super flop. Up there with the Wii U, really. But yeah, here. If you can't afford the $449 Switch, don't expect much else from Nintendo. The company executive is suggesting budget-conscious gamers simply settle for the first-gen Switch. Doug Bowser said the company recognizes there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform makes them in.
I am ready to put on a show!
Yeah, so, can't afford it, stay broke, get a Switch, basically. That's what it boils down to. I think they are still developing every game for Switch and Switch 2, so nothing, I don't think anything is Switch 2 exclusive. So I don't think you'll miss out on any games by not having a Switch 2. Never mind, I'm immediately proven wrong in the following paragraph.
Shield final 10 seconds!
Wow. A growing crop of Switch 2 games such as Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Donkey Kong Bonanza won't be offered on the Switch 1. That was quick. You didn't know that. No, I was under the impression this was going to be like when the PlayStation 3 launched and they still like co-developed games for PS3 and PS2. But even with the PS3, they did have like a couple of PS3 exclusives like Resistance, Fallen Man. Oh yeah, and here's the mention of Xbox One. Comparing it to Don Matrick, who tried to justify the Xbox One internet requirement, saying, "Unfortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360. Great quote, Don. Crushed it. Don Matrick got fired 1 month after the Xbox One reveal. How? Why? What did he do wrong? I'm sure he's probably the CEO of a Fortune 500 company now, because you can only fail upwards in this industry. Why do you hate Xbox? They've been doing so many good things recently. But I don't even really hate them. They just have nothing on there. And Phil Spencer constantly reminds people of that. He's like, yeah, we lost the console war. Yeah, we still don't have games. But I've always said I think Game Pass is a great deal. And I really appreciate that Xbox games aren't actually exclusive because you can play all of them on PC.
Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging.
You can't just say shit and then get away with saying it.
Yeah.
I'm going to debunk you, and then you're going to respond to it. Now, if you can't handle the fact that I was able to prove you wrong, and that's why you're trying to move on, well, then just be honest about it. Either concede or fucking respond.
Well, that's one way to treat someone who disagrees with you in a debate. For those of you who don't know, this is Dean Withers, who is a part of that Zoomer politics group with that kid Parker who is in all the Jubilee episodes, and Harry Sisson, who said, "I'm a straight 22-year-old. I can assure you that no one believes that."
Any man who must say, "I am the king," is no true king.
Anyway, Dean is 20 years old, and him and his little friend group are popular on TikTok, but today we're going to talk about his YouTube channel because that's a lot easier to deal with in an editing program. Dean is a debate bro, which is an entire meta and type of content creator that's annoyed me a lot over the past 10 years, because most of these people seem to be creators who are a lot more concerned with farming a viral clip where they got an epic own for their audience, rather than to actually try to understand the viewpoint of the person who disagrees with them. Dean is a perfect example of this type of influencer, as it is immediately obvious when you watch him that he will do anything to make his opponent look like a complete piece of shit. Evidence of that is in a video called These MAGA fanatics are out of control.
What's up, Crisco? Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I supported his ability to remove man for women's sports. I'm a girl dad, so my daughters both compete on a high level, and I would never want them to have to compete against a male because we are naturally stronger.
I don't know how like the right has successfully convinced you to like place 12 trans women over the 66 million American women and girls that have lost their human rights access to abortion, or the fact that more women have accused Donald Trump of raping them than there is trans women competing in the NCAA. I just think that there's much larger concerns here.
What does that have to do with what the caller was talking about? Like, where the hell did abortion come from? The caller said his biggest reason for why he voted for Trump is because Trump is against trans women in sports, and Dean immediately shifts to whatever he wants to talk about to make the caller look stupid. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that Dean didn't even wait 10 seconds to do this. Like, this is literally the first thing that happens in the video. It's like the guy says, yeah, I love cooking, and I think I have a great pancake recipe. And Dean responds, did you know that Hitler likes pancakes? So I guess we're going to talk about whatever Dean wants to talk about.
So you just really care about what you deem as women, right?
My daughters, that's it.
And you would really care about like keeping like a man out of like your underage daughter's like dressing room, for instance?
I don't see a reason why he would be in there with my daughter.
Okay. Like imagine that there's a shitty man, right? Not a trans woman, a cis man that walks into the changing room of your daughter. She's an underage girl. She's naked and dressed.
I'm not really sure why he got onto the topic.
I am ready to put on a
Of a
show.
normal heterosexual male entering a woman's locker room. It kind of seems like he's being aggressive here because he very specifically doesn't want the caller to mention stuff like loud and county before he can train the transgender locker room issue in the way that he wants. And certainly Dean would want to make sure that he took control over the conversation before the caller brings up that Riley Gaines interview, where she talks about how a biological male was not only allowed to unfairly compete against her, but was also allowed to use the women's changing room.
I turn around, there's 6'4", 22-year-old male, dropping his clothes and is fully intact with an exposing male genitalia. So let me be clear. We were not forewarned we would be sharing this changing space. No one told us.
Believe it or not, it gets worse. After this happened, Riley talked to one of the officials about the new locker room rules and about how a biological male was allowed to watch the women change.
I went up to him and I said, you know, I understand the guidelines for the meet, which was, at the time, there was only 12 months of hormone suppression. I said, I know that, but what are the guidelines for the locker room? And word for word, this is what he says. Oh, we actually got around this by making the locker rooms unisex. So I'm like, okay, unisex. Okay, so this means that any man could have walked into our locker room? Any man, not just a self-identifying woman?
A fan seeking opportunity?
And no one told us?
This whole event also included the women who went to the school of the male swimmer being told their lives would be ruined if they spoke out against him, and they had to go to re-education courses so they could think more inclusively. This was quite an infuriating interview to watch. But anyway, let's see where Dean is going with the locker room situation. Why would he bring that up? It seems like a great way to lose a debate.
Like imagine that there's a shitty man that walked into the changing room of your daughter. She's 17. She's an underage girl. She's naked, undressed. What do you think should happen to that man?
If he walks in, walking in for what exactly? Did he walk in on accident?
To perv on them while they were naked, and he did so
He
intentionally.
gets the same treatment as anyone else.
What should happen to him?
If he tried something, he should be locked up.
He should be locked up. If an older man did this, boasted about it, said he got away with it, never got jailed, then ran for president, would you ever vote or support that man?
Absolutely not.
Don't be a hypocrite,
He should be jailed. It doesn't matter who it is, bro.
Even if it was Trump? Even if it was Trump?
Okay, that's where he's going with this. He's trying to escape the very valid concerns from parents of allowing relations to girls' bathrooms and locker rooms. And it's not just at school, but also places like Disneyland. So he's escaping this by shifting the conversation to a story about Trump, which is a tactic straight out of a book called Rules for Radical, the book that Dean has almost certainly read. It's the handbook for people like him. To put it simply, it's a book that teaches bad faith influencing tactics and dark trad behavior for the sole purpose of winning. Towards the end, there's a chapter on tactics where the author describes different rules to follow to be effective in convincing people of radical political change. Rule number 2, never go outside the experiences of your people. This one's not that bad because it's actually a rule that applies generally. You should always try to speak to the experiences that people you're talking to can relate to. This is just a basic communication skill, but it's all set up for the next tactic, which is Rule 3, that says that you should, wherever possible, go outside of the experience of the enemy. This rule is great because any one person can't know everything, so as a dishonest person, you can just bring up some random sample fact of your opponent, and if they don't know it, the audience will perceive them as stupid. You might even convince your opponent that they're stupid for not knowing the random thing that you brought up. It's quite an effective tactic in a live debate, especially against people who are unaware of it. So that's the reason that Dean has brought this story up about Trump in a locker room, instead of sticking to the topic about trans women in sports. Now, in the next part, Dean is going to play a clip of Trump talking about locker rooms, but the way he does it is really confusing and abrupt. For context, he plays a 2005 clip of Donald Trump talking to Howard Stern about beauty pageants. And to make it less confusing, I'm going to pick a different cut of this moment, but I will play the exact words that Dean plays, and then cut back to him talking and using the caller.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And
Well, you could also say as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
so you have done it. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else, and no men are anywhere, and I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women, and so I sort of get away with it.
So the non-hypocritical rational response would be at this point to say that we're no longer Trump supporters, because immediately before I wrote that post, you said that you never support anybody that did this, never vote for any president, even if it was Trump. I'm putting my money on you just being a hypocrite. Are you no longer MAGA?
Alright, so probably the most frustrating part of listening to Dean is that you have to fact check literally everything he says because he's always leaving out important context or just straight up lying. Though before we get into that, I will note that Dean caters to a younger demographic, so they likely don't understand the environment of the Howard Stern show because he is before their time. The show is supposed to be offensive, so Trump may be playing it up for the listeners. In fact, there is still an episode of The Stern Show with Trump on YouTube, and you can see Howard pushing Trump to be edgy. Stern does that every show. The whole point is to have dirty humor, so stories or storytelling may be embellished. That being said, there's so much
I am ready to put on a show.
Dean says that Trump was creeping on minors, but there's no indication of that from this clip. Trump owned a pageant for adults and a pageant for teens. And I'm guessing that Trump was talking about the pageant for adults because no one outside of maybe Andrew Tate would be stupid enough to voluntarily admit to having an inappropriate relationship with a minor while being interviewed. Dean is also assuming that Trump didn't have consent from the adult women to enter the locker room. I think everyone here can picture in their head a situation where a bunch of young adult women would be perfectly fine with a billionaire being in their presence, dressed or not. But let's take a closer look. Trump owned Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA. This allegation from Dean happened at a Miss Teen USA event in 1997. So basically 30 years ago, and the articles I found on it were 20 years after the event, so I'm sure everyone's memory is crystal clear. To sum it all up, these are just stories from people who were there, and nobody has any concrete evidence that Trump did anything illegal. This article here says that the girls' chaperones for the pageant told them to get dressed before Trump entered, and states that the chaperones would have never allowed anything inappropriate to have happened. Even in this BuzzFeed article that's far more against Trump, none of the witness testimonies said they were actually undressed around him. They merely said they were rushed to get dressed when they were told he was visiting. So this is not Trump freaking on 17-year-olds like Dean said. I mean, you could argue that maybe there's a more appropriate place for Trump to meet the contestants, but considering that this is a beauty pageant, I can imagine that a significant amount of the time that the girls aren't on stage is spent in the dressing room perfecting their outfit or their makeup. I don't know that much about pageants, but I can imagine that this area, a lot of the time, might be the most convenient place for a busy person to meet everybody, and provided that they were all dressed, other adults were there, and proper boundaries were maintained, I don't see this as a problem. As for the adult pageants, we have a testimony from former Miss Arizona, Tasha Dixon. Let's hear what she has to say.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Dixon was 15 at the time, and so watching Trump storm into the dressing room was shocking.
We had the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention. Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant.
Notice how they said 18. So at the very least, that's another strike against Dean for the pedo allegations. I mean, based on Dean's extreme lack of evidence here, that allegation kind of sounds like defamation.
They all got sued by Trump, and Trump won all those lawsuits. CBS slandered Trump, they called him a rapist, and he sued them for defamation, and he won.
As for what Tasha said, it sounds inappropriate for Trump to enter a locker room while women are changing. However, Trump has denied these allegations, so now it's he said, she said, and considering that this happened 15 years prior to that interview, and there seems to be no proof outside of taking someone's word for it, and no other witnesses made their names public to corroborate Tasha's story, I'm going to say that Trump is innocent until proven guilty. False allegations happen a lot with rich people and public figures, and the reason we have legal standards is to prevent abusers from witch hunting everyone they don't like. Tasha claims that her allegations weren't politically motivated, but I find that very hard to believe because she appears to have made them a month before the 2016 election. So I don't think she's being honest about that. Now, to go on a slight tangent because it's relevant, I know that Trump is taking shit right now from MAGA because he went on Truth Social and said the Epstein files, which no one believes. I know everyone's mad about that, and I'm not happy about it either. And like everyone else, I hope they do get released. Though more importantly, this video is not really about Trump, it's about Dean. And Dean just so happens to be talking about Trump here because he talks about Trump in like every video. I mean, this guy uses MAGA in his titles more than people used to use the word woke before Fox News anchors made that term trend.
He wrote
Understand that anything I say here is not an endorsement of Republicans not keeping their promise. Talk about Dean's constant use of bad faith tactics, and since Trump is basically
I am ready to put on a show.
We're going to talk about Trump. Anyway, as the debate goes on, instead of actually engaging with the ideas of his opposition about trans women in sports, Dean continues to use this video to do anything he can to attack Trump in any way.
Is there anything that Trump could do? Any red line that would make you regret it? I want an answer to my question. Yes or no, is there anything that Donald Trump could do that would make you regret your vote? What if he committed a genocide on the other side of the world? He bombed and killed 1 million people. Would you still support him?
They should retaliate.
But would you regret your vote if tomorrow he dropped a bomb and killed 1 million people in Asia?
Yeah, but Trump hasn't done that, and also, this is completely irrelevant to the initial question. But I mean, if we're gonna propose that as a hypothetical, then I don't think that's a path you want to go down as an Obama supporter.
Obama says that he wants to run for president in 2028. Will you be voting for him?
Okay, well, Obama hasn't said that. He literally can't. It'd be unconstitution, but obviously I would, yeah.
I'm guessing Dean didn't know this because he got into politics like 5 minutes ago, but Obama was infamous for promising to end the Iraq war that Bush started, followed by taking his sweet-ass time to do that. I hate President Bush too, by the way. So Obama continued that war and ordered tons of drone strikes that had a really bad habit of killing civilians.